Right now, 4 House Democratic lawmakers are in El Salvador. They're advocating for the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who is, of course, the Maryland man at the center of this big legal fight after the Trump administration mistakenly deported him. This weekend, the White House's immigration crackdown also suffered another setback when the Supreme Court temporarily paused the administration's deportation of immigrants using the Alien Enemies Act. With us now is Alexandra Ribe, one of the attorneys representing Kilmar Abrego Garcia. She is a partner at the Murray Osorio law firm. Alexandra, thanks for being with us. I wonder, have you been able to speak to your client recently? Can you update us on his status now that the Trump administration says he's been moved to a different detention facility?
Hi, thank you for having me. So we do not have any information on where exactly our client is located within El Salvador. So that is unfortunately something that we're hoping that we'll gain more information on, ideally this week.
Do you have any idea why he was moved?
I mean, we don't know exactly why he was moved. All I can say is that, fortunately, the Fourth Circuit was denied the emergency stay that the government filed, which means that we are moving forward with discovery, which means that hopefully this week we will have answers as to what exactly the government is doing to facilitate his return from El Salvadoran custody and back into the United States, because that's exactly what they were ordered to do and what the Supreme Court has ordered them to do.
So, and the Trump administration, as they are supposed to facilitate, that is the important word there, facilitate your client's return to the U.S. They've taken a very conservative reading of what that entails. If that does continue on, I hear you saying you're expecting to learn exactly what have they done to facilitate that. What's your legal recourse?
So we will know more this week, and then next week we'll be able to see what relief we have in this case. I mean, the thing is here that each court that has looked at this case has said that facilitate is an active verb. What that means is that the government can't simply do nothing. They can't simply say, okay, well, if Mr. Abrego Garcia turns up at our border, we'll let him in. They have to actively assist in his return to the United States, and that is what the Supreme Court has ordered them to do. And the fact that they feel as though facilitate can mean that they can quite essentially do nearly nothing is really just at odds with that decision, and should really be shocking to the American people, because what that means in essence is that somebody, as the Fourth Circuit has said, can be whisked away to a foreign prison, and then the U.S. government says that there's nothing that they can do actively to assist in their return to the United States. An extremely scary notion.
The Trump administration has put out several statements, as you're aware, documents that contain allegations about your client, including that he was violent towards his wife, that he is a member of the MS-13 gang. What can you say about those allegations?
Here's what I can say about the allegations. Our government admitted from the beginning that this was an error. And then afterwards, to try and justify this error, they try and find dirty laundry in our client, which really is irrelevant. First of all, their evidence is extraordinarily thin. But even if there was something there, that's really irrelevant, because the whole issue is that our client was deported to the one country where a judge, there's a final order saying that he's more likely or not to be persecuted or tortured if he were to remain in that country. And now he was deported to that one isolated country. They have to facilitate his return. And once they do so, they are most welcome to put up any of this evidence in court. But to justify their own admitted mistake by trying to find all these justifications, reasons, dirty laundry, is just really saddening, disingenuous, and frightening.
Yeah, as you say, this really will come down to how active a verb does the court believe facilitate is, and we shall see. Alexandra Ribe, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.